There were no protests, no hesitation, no mass resistance against the new global order, because the truth was undeniable. Every single person knew, if they didn't fight, they would die anyway. If they didn't prepare now, they wouldn't survive when the Greys returned. Earth had 2 years. 2 years before the skies darkened with invasion fleets, before the ground shook under marching armies, before the final war for survival began. And now? Humanity wasn't waiting for extinction anymore. It was racing toward victory or death, because there was no middle ground left. And when the time came, the world would either stand together or fall forever. But this time, it wouldn't be easy prey, not anymore. And in the shadows, the resistance grew stronger, preparing for the war that would define the fate of the planet. The entire population was scanned, revealing 13,346 hidden Grey infiltrators who were detained immediately. No more manipulation, no more sabotage. Now, it was only war. Building the war machine. Factories ran at max capacity, assembling out weapons, fortresses, processing plants. Underground bunkers, massive war-ready facilities, were constructed across every continent. Survival strategies were developed, ensuring that if cities fell, humans would endure underground. New weaponry was designed and tested, each piece of silver tech modified to suit Earth's war effort. Watchtowers monitored every movement, preparing for the first signs of invasion. It was an entirely new world, a planet reshaped for survival, for war, for defiance. The countdown begins. No more waiting, no more hesitation, no more pretending that Earth was just another quiet world waiting to be conquered. Humanity had come together. And when the Greys arrived, they would find something they had never faced before. An entire species, unified. A resistance stronger than any they had crushed before. A planet refusing to die. 2 years. That was all they had. And for the first time in the history of the galaxy, Earth was ready to fight. For years, Mark and his crew had juggled 2 realities, balancing everyday teenage existence with the weight of leadership in a secret war. But now, there was no separation between their roles. Hero time was constant, 24/7. There were no weekends off, no late-night gaming sessions, no casual meetups at Morris's bookstore. Laughter had faded, replaced by determination, exhaustion, and an unrelenting urgency. Earth was no longer a planet of nations. It was a planet of warriors. Every human, no matter their past, was now part of the fight. Standing on the balcony of a fortress overlooking a desert training camp, Mark watched thousands of new recruits sparring below, their movements sharp, their resolve undeniable. Few more months, that's all they had. And as he adjusted the energy shield bracelet on his wrist, he let out a slow breath. No more theory. No more wondering if humanity could resist. It was happening. The war was here. And Earth was ready to burn the Greys to the ground. Earth becomes a training camp. Cities no longer functioned as places of normal life. They had been repurposed into massive training zones where civilians were drilled in. Close combat techniques adapted from Silver battle strategies. Alien tech mastery, learning how to use and modify Silver weaponry. Survival tactics, preparing for urban warfare, bunker defense, and infiltration scenarios. From ages 10 to 80, every single person was either training, supporting, or contributing to the war effort. There were no complaints, no resistance, because everyone understood the truth. If they didn't fight, they died. They weren't just leaders anymore. They were symbols. Every human on Earth knew their names. Mark, Morris, Jason, Ben, Valerie, Sophie, Miss Gooby, Joe, Martha. They were trusted, respected, followed without hesitation. Whenever Mark appeared on a battlefield, a training facility, or a command center, people whispered his name like a rallying cry. The boy who had once balanced high school and secret war planning was now the face of Earth's fight for survival, and there was no turning back. The Greys, a civilization classified as Category 2 on the Kardashev scale, meaning they had mastered the ability to harness the full energy output of their home star, had perfected warfare to a terrifying art. Their battle units did not think, did not hesitate, did not operate on emotion or impulse. They were governed by artificial intelligence, strictly following predictive models, analyzing threats with cold precision and reacting only within predefined parameters. Against any other species, this had always guaranteed victory. But now, they were about to fight humans, and humans didn't play by the rules. The Greys had spent centuries perfecting conquest, analyzing civilizations, predicting every possible response before war even began. Their artificial intelligence ensured absolute control over the battlefield, using advanced combat models to anticipate enemy movements, weaknesses, and tactical adjustments. But Mark and Morris, they weren't predictable, and that was Earth's greatest weapon. The Greys had always relied on predictive warfare, their artificial intelligence ensuring that every battle was won before it ever began. Their tactical models were designed to anticipate every possible move, neutralizing enemies before they even had a chance to react. But what happens when the enemy doesn't follow logic? What happens when the battle itself is unpredictable? That was humanity's advantage, and Mark was its greatest champion. Mark's fighting style, anomaly in motion. Mark's combat techniques had evolved into something beyond comprehension, a style that actively rejected structure, abandoned predictability, and thrived on split-second adaptation. He fought like an impossibility, shifting strategies mid-motion, making choices that broke combat logic and disrupted enemy calculations. Every step, every movement, every feint had layers upon layers of misdirection. A planned strategy that could be abandoned in seconds. A deliberate feint that turned into a real attack mid-motion. A failure that morphed into an opportunity in the blink of an eye. The Greys' AI simply couldn't keep up. Every time their machines tried to predict him, Mark became something else entirely. Simulating chaos, the ultimate training ground. Inside the Silver's war chambers, Mark ran simulation after simulation, forcing AI-driven battle sequences to adapt to his unpredictability. It never worked. Every single AI system failed. The machines were too structured, too reliant on pre-existing patterns, and every time they tried to counter his moves, he changed before they could react. They simply couldn't compute him. Morris wasn't just a strategist. He was the architect of unpredictability itself. He designed battle scenarios that maximized human adaptability, ensuring resistance fighters learned to abandon rigid formations, move like fluid anomalies, and attack in ways that completely shattered AI expectations. Every recruit under Morris learned chaos as a weapon, using erratic motion, distraction tactics, unpredictable strike points, turning the battlefield into a living puzzle that AI couldn't solve. With Mark leading the charge, humanity was no longer just another conquest. They were a species the Greys had never encountered before. When the invasion began, the Greys would come expecting order, a structured resistance, a battle they could mathematically dismantle. Instead, they would find chaos itself. And chaos? Chaos doesn't lose. It evolves. It defies calculation. It breaks the very foundation of expected outcomes. Inside the Silver's war chambers, Mark ran thousands of combat simulations, testing his ability to outthink pre-programmed strategies designed by the emulator of Greys' military AI. He had to master three crucial elements. 1. The teleport shield, turning incoming fire into redirected energy, sending it straight back at enemies without hesitation. 2. Gravity tech, bending physics to create instant battlefield distortions, confusing AI responses, breaking formations, and throwing combat units into complete chaos. Strategic misdirection, developing techniques where AI combat models fail to adapt fast enough, forcing enemy reactions into predictable failure loops. Every single prediction model thrown at him, he beat it. Every strategy designed to counter his movements, he broke it. This wasn't just training anymore. This was rewriting war itself. Ben, Jason, and Valerie trained alongside him, desperate to match his pace, to keep up with the relentless intensity of his combat adaptation. But no matter how fast they moved, how sharp their reflexes became, Mark was always steps ahead, seeing attacks before they happened, predicting movements before they were made. Jason had collapsed onto the floor after one brutal simulation, panting, "Bro, do you even sleep anymore?" Ben groaned, rubbing his sore arms. "I swear, man, you're cheating reality at this point." Valerie just laughed, shaking her head. "I refuse to play your game, Mark. You win. We all acknowledge you're an insane genius. Just save the world already." Mark chuckled, but he knew the truth. He wasn't training to beat them. He was training to beat the Greys before they even knew what hit them. The Greys had always won because their AI predicted every possible outcome before battle even began. But now, they were facing an opponent that AI couldn't compute. They were fighting chaos itself. Mark and Morris had crafted a battle strategy that AI couldn't track, that didn't follow logical formations, that changed mid-second before any calculations could finalize. Earth had never been expected to win this war. But humanity had never fought like anything seen before in the galaxy. And when the invasion finally arrived, the Greys would realize too late. They had made the ultimate mistake. They had underestimated humans, and for the first time in their empire's history, they were about to lose. In the history of the Greys' conquests, every species had fought predictably, reacting with unexpected strategies, moving within predictable formations, responding in ways that AI could preemptively neutralize. But humans were different. They made erratic decisions. They fought emotionally, instinctively, chaotically. They adapted faster than logic allowed. And Mark? Mark was the pinnacle of that unpredictability, an exception within exceptions, a fighter who could see beyond algorithms, beyond battle strategies, beyond the war itself. And that was why the Silvers believed in him. Because for the first time in galactic history, there was a species that couldn't be predicted, couldn't be calculated, couldn't be controlled. Earth wouldn't just fight back. Earth would teach the galaxy what it meant to truly battle. Mark and Valerie had always known love and war could never truly coexist, not in the way they wanted. They had grown serious, their bond stronger than ever. But marriage? Marriage was a promise for a future, and the truth was, they didn't know if they had a future at all. The 2-year preparation period had expired, and the Greys' armada was now due to arrive at any moment. For the first time in human history, the entire population had shifted into a permanent state of watchfulness, heads tilted upward every few minutes, scanning the open sky as though expecting it to crack apart. Day or night, every glimpse of the stars carried a haunting weight. Everyone knew what was coming. It was no longer a matter of if, but when. DEFCON 2, Earth on a razor's edge. The planet had officially transitioned to DEFCON 2, the highest alert level before war itself. Humanity was no longer living as civilians. They were soldiers now, whether they had chosen to be or not. Every bunker was filled, every stronghold reinforced. They had to be ready for the worst-case scenario. The underground bunker cities. Across the planet, fortified bunkers had become the new homes of humanity. Each bunker housed 10,000 souls, structured like miniature cities of survival. And outer defenses included reinforced forts with multiple watchtowers, barracks and trenches built to withstand direct ground assaults, 2 battle droid depots, ensuring automated units were ready for combat deployment, a plasma cannon, capable of firing at incoming ships from the surface, designed with modifications from Silver technology. Interior structures provided full functionality for long-term resistance, a hospital equipped for emergency trauma and battle injuries, water processing plants, ensuring clean, sustainable drinking supplies, greenhouse farms, growing fresh produce for siege survival, an armory stocked with weapons, ammunition, and combat gear, a police station governing internal stability and security, 20 dormitory areas, each prepared to house families, soldiers, and command units, 5 cafeterias, ensuring mass food distribution without delay. The entire planet had reorganized, shifting from normal society to full-scale resistance infrastructure. People had moved closer to urban areas, desperate to secure spots within bunkers. knowing that the surface would be lost the moment the war truly began. There were no complaints, no resistance, just readiness, the understanding that they had done all they could to prepare. The cerebral implants worked perfectly, maintaining every human on Earth connected to a single consciousness when needed. If a city was attacked, the entire planet would know within seconds. If reinforcements were needed, teleportation teams could deploy without hesitation. No one would be left isolated. The war would be fought as one. The last few months had been the most difficult humanity had ever endured. Critical projects had to be finalized, weapons had to be tested, bunkers had to be secured, and in all that urgency, there was little time for socializing, little time for love. Mark barely saw his parents. Valerie barely saw Mark. Ben, Jason, and Sophie barely spoke except in brief mission updates. There was no room for personal life anymore. But in the end, everything had worked. All critical plans and projects had been successfully executed, tested, and put into action. Millions of drones patrolled the skies, scanning for incoming threats. Every satellite, every instrument in orbit, was locked on the heavens, scanning non-stop, ensuring that when the first invasion ships entered Earth's atmosphere, humanity would know instantly. And as the hours ticked forward, as the weight of anticipation threatened to suffocate them all, Mark stood outside the command tower of one of the 20 bunkers in Chicago, watching the sky. Waiting. Then came the first warning signals. High-altitude drones sent urgent high-priority alerts, orbiting satellites flagged anomalies, and the sky itself began to change. Mark stared upward. Valerie joined him. Morris clenched his fists. Because finally, after years of waiting, they were here. The Greys had arrived, and Earth's war had begun. The moment had arrived. Humanity's 2-year countdown had reached 0, and now, the skies split open, reality bending as the Grey Armada tore through space, bypassing Europa's detection stations, slipping past Mars's orbital monitors, and finally shattering the Moon's defense grid, triggering the emergency alert signal across every bunker, every war room, and every last standing stronghold on Earth. It was happening. No more waiting, no more preparing, no more questioning whether survival was possible. This was war. And Earth was ready.